only got the Zoom stream. Can you see me?
There we go. And welcome to the Lion Zone. I'm your host, Steve Johan, where you learn to be a lion and not the prey in the world of hungry jackals and vicious wolves. And for more about me, go to stevejohan.com, or you can find me on Substack at stevejohan.substack.com. I've got another great show for you I have lined up. And yes, it's been a long time. It's been several months. I've been busy with my book promo and all that. And now I'm back into the saddle again. And I've got a very special guest who you can see on screen with me. But before I introduce my guest, I want to start things out by playing a song that will set the stage for today's show. So with that, here we go. Let's play a song.
I can't see it.
Everybody come clap your hands. Oh, don't you know when you dance, you've got to smile or you can't cry. Try it a while, you'll be surprised. Baby, it's a rock and roll music. I said I can't just hear that music. Well, alright, alright, well, alright, alright, well, alright now. Alright, yeah, yeah. Fly the monkey is something new, but I don't care what you do.
All right, there you have it. Okay, did you hear that, Moody?
Yes, I did, and it just brings back some wonderful fond memories, and it makes me wonder, hey, 1964, and here I am in 2026. It's great. It's great.
So tell me about that song. Normally I ask my guests, what song is that? And do you know who it is? And they'll kind of pick their brain. Someone will get what I'm playing because it's usually a part of the theme. But that one's Everybody Come and Clap Your Hands by the fabulous Moody Scott in the Deltas and your Moody Scott. So,
Yes.
Moody, thank you for being on the show. And before I get into the introduction about who you are, tell our listeners and watchers, how did that song come about? And just briefly, and then we'll get more into the details here in a moment.
Well, it came about when I was introduced to Lieber and Stoller by Joe Jones. We were able to get them to record that song, and we did it in the Brill building. And Lieber and Stoller were the producers, and the songwriters were Hall of Fame legend Ellie Greenwich and Jeff Barry. And by the way, they wrote scores of hit songs during that particular era. Ellie wrote lots of songs for what we call the girl groups back then.
Yeah.
And did a lot of ronettes. The Dixie Cups was included in that. But it came about was in Hammond, iconic musician Earl King out of New Orleans was able to come down and check out my show in Hammond, my hometown. And he liked the show, and he said, Moody, why don't you come down to New Orleans, which was only 50 miles from home, and perform at the world famous Dewdrop Inn nightclub. I said, wow, okay. So I go to perform there, and they introduced me as the country boy strawberry picker. And I noticed before they called me up, the singers and the entertainers was up on stage, but the people, the audience wasn't paying any attention. People all together and they're talking about, hey girl, hey bud, what's been going on, kind of conversation. And they wasn't really giving that attention to the person that was on stage. And when they introduced me, I was scared as hell, Steve. I walked up to the mic, I picked up the mic and opened my mouth, and the next thing you know, the house is on fire. And that's how I was able to be introduced to Joe. He had a record called You Talk Too Much Jones. Joe used to talk to us Jones. It was called You Talk Too Much, which was in the 50s. It was a big hit for Joe. He took me, signed me to a contract. He went into New Orleans projects and got a female group, a girls group called the Meltones, who later became the famous Dixie Cups. Then he also brought along Aaron Neville of the Neville Brothers, Tell It Like It Is. And last but not least, the guitarist, blues guitarist Alvin Shine Robinson, who did the Chris Kenner hit Something You Got Baby. We were all in this thing, like the whole, it just is a part of this whole evolution of history, early history in rock and roll in America. And I'm glad it's happening this way. They say you know, everybody didn't come clap your hands. It didn't sell 1 million records like the Dixie Cup Chapel of Love. It didn't sell 1 million with my buddy Aaron. But it introduced me to the entertainment industry. And what's so amazing about it with the Chick-fil-A and all this certain interest in me, it's a blessing, you know. And that old saying, you reap what you sow. Hey, I reaped it, and maybe I'm getting the soul from it, you know. So that's how it all happened, and we recorded it in the Brill Building in New York City. That's where Lieber and Stoller did that stuff. You know, they did. Oh, I mean, it was a revolution in the music industry during that time, Steve. And I'm proud to be a part of that history. And, you know, I was over, some said I was ahead of my time. Some said back in the day I was overlooked. But nevertheless, look here, I'm still here. And I'm thankful and blessed and appreciate the support that I'm getting around the country and even abroad, especially I have a lot of followers in the UK over there in France and Germany who have supported me for many years. So I'm thankful, and I'm thankful for you for having me on the show, Steve.
Well, I want to read a quick little blurb here, and it says Entertainment Press Release, Las Vegas, Nevada. 60s soul and blues legend Moody Scott celebrated his 82nd birthday in 2026 with his first recording in 1964, Everybody Come Clap Your Hands. It is being featured in a Chick-fil-A anniversary celebration commercial. Hey, that's pretty cool. Streaming on various social media outlets. I've seen it a lot on YouTube. Everybody Come Clap Your Hands is one of the most popular created ads, especially with the younger generations. The upbeat style, it has created much excitement and joy. With Moody's soulful delivery to this rock and roll classic, written by Hall of Famers Eli Greenwich and Jeff Berry, as you said, mentioned earlier, produced by Rock and Roll Hall of Fame legends Jerry Lieber, Mike Stroller, Red Bird Daisy Records, New York City. And you were born in January 28th, 1944, birthplace Independence, Louisiana, hometown Hammond, out of how do you pronounce that one, Parish?
I would say Tangipahoa Parish.
Thank you. He began his singing career with Starlight's Gospel Group after several star-studded performances in churches, gospel concerts, and revivals through the southeast region of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas. He departed the group and embarked on a solo singing career that have now spanned 3 historical decades. Well, Moody, you're still singing. So the fact is, he invited to come to New Orleans, perform now world famous Dewdrop in nightclub, as you mentioned earlier, and his hook, your performance basically knocked everybody over, which is what got you in the door. And then basically, I'm going to read this. You've performed at Monterey Blues Festival, Women's Blues and Friends Festival, Las Vegas Blues Festival, Moody Scott Telecapa, California End of Summer Music Festival, Reggae in the Desert Festival. You've been in numerous music festivals all throughout your region down there in the Nevada area. And then you've been in the Cannery Casino and more. And then you have been on radio broadcasting as a DJ and many other things. And I don't want to go much further on that because I've got the man on the other side. And so, Moody, I want to talk. I want to go back to your roots for a moment because I didn't know you started in the gospel music. And was that during the 50s when you were doing the gospel music?
Yes, it was. It was the Starlights. They were family members. My cousin James Greeley and Dolores Greeley, and my brother Arthur Lee, and my sister, who later became a gospel singer and a radio announcer at WFPR Radio in my hometown of Hammond, Sister Mary Alford. She also has a gospel CD out. And I would tour, and we would do churches, concerts, and revivals, throughout the southeastern regions, which would be Louisiana, Mississippi, and Texas as well.
Right.
And I stayed with them for several years, and then I joined the local Morocco's band from Hammond and became the lead singer with them and accumulated huge followings. I even had, this is really funny, I had this lady, she was one of my fans, and she was from nearby Ponchatoula, Louisiana, and she made me a black cake. Now, this is weird as hell. It was before the Gene Chandler even came up with the Duke of Earl. So she made me this cape, and I put this cape on, and
We're frozen out.
out what I was doing. And that was so cool, So after I finished doing the Morocco thing, then that's why when I ran into Earl King, and it led me right on back up to what happened with Lever and Stoller. One thing that was very amazing that I wanted people to be aware of was Ellie Greenwich was a super pioneering entertainer, songwriter, and producer. And she coached me vocally for the Everybody Come Clap Your Hands. And she stayed on top of me. She was a professional all the way. And she deserved everything that she deserved in history.
It's interesting.
She was a pioneering woman.
I think that's something that people don't understand is you came in raw. You had a lot of good talent. You had a lot of practice, and you performed in a gospel group. And it's one thing to blend as a gospel group and work off of each other. And then when you started doing lead, you had to lean into a different talent. You had to lean into a different part of your mind, because no longer are you part of a group. Now you are the front and center. You've got to push things. But then it sounds like when you came in,
I tried. I'm sorry. I tried the group when I went solo. I wanted to go solo.
Right. But I'm saying for her to teach you what I was building up to, Moody, is you came out, you were part of a group, and then you wanted to go solo. But she helped you refine your voice.
Absolutely.
And that's very important. And do you think there are people who are even today who come in with raw talent and they don't want to be refined? Or do you think the ones that that ended up going up on being chart toppers and having a long career like yourself, they were willing to listen to other people, be they producers or writers or whoever, coaches, to help them become better?
Yes. And being open-minded and not having the attitude that excuse me, it's me, me, me. You need surroundings. You need creative, positive individuals, sorry, with motivation around you, and then you make it as one for everybody, and share the gift that the Creator have given to you with the world. It never was about the money with me. It was all about sharing what God gave me with the world, my music.
So you came out with that song. You said 1964, correct? With
Right.
and then
But I didn't go national until 1969 when I recorded the first anti-drug abuse song in America, we busting out of the ghetto with John Richburg and Sound Stage 7 Records out of Nashville, Tennessee.
here it is. Here it
You
is.
know, it's sad. It's so sad.
Oh, that's a great one
The
there.
young man is just throwing his life away. Now, people out there, you know it's not right, because it's not supposed to be that way. All right. Hey, hey. All right. Hey, hey. Hear me now. I'm tired of being around this old neighborhood. This old block used to be something, but now it ain't no good. Dope pushers going around, robbing my people every day. You know it ain't right. It's not supposed to be that way. We gon' bust out of the ghetto. Got the bus out of the ghetto now. Policemen, they keep working, trying to do their job. When that cat gets
All right. I love that song, Moody, and I know you re-recorded it later on, but that's the original. 1970 it came out.
Yeah, that was, yeah, that's historical, because it featured some of the greatest Nashville, greatest recording studio musicians in the world. And John Richburg put it all together. We had Virgin White was the arranger, and we had Tim Drummond was the bassist. You know, he was on Neil Young, Melissa Manchester, just all different type of great artists. And he also co-wrote a song with Tim and I co-wrote a song together. May he rest in peace. And then we had the legendary Pee Wee Ellis saxophone, bad boy. And on top of that, we had Rick Hall's famous Muscle Shoals horn sections.
Wow.
And wow, so you can imagine. So it just brings back a lot of memories. And you know, in 2017, Steve, I hosted my own music festival in Tacoma, California, at the Tacoma Hot Springs Resort. And it was called the Moody Scott End of Summer Music Festival. And we did this in the beautiful, serene desert, brought out bands and musicians. It was just wonderful. We had great fun. And so in 2017, I decided to reevaluate where I was in my life and sort of catch up on the trying to get my legacy all together. And that's what I did in 2017. I took a hiatus and just concentrated on just that. And during the time I took off, there was things that came in between that made things seem a little unbearable. I was managed to be contacted with the coronavirus, and that set me back for quite a while. But I just kept right on going because you know you have to keep going. You can't just stop. You you get your butt knocked down, but you got to be strong enough to get up and fight back and fight for another day. And so that's where I am now, and I'm looking forward to coming up to uh, Jacopa because they're going to be giving a big reggae in the desert festival featuring John Carlos. And the people that's sponsoring that is the Kit Fox Cafe out of Jacopa there, the business owners there and the community they supporting this. And there's a strong possibility. They asked me to perform there, but there's a strong possibility I'm leading that I'll probably go because I miss to me like family up in that community. And then I Brenda Andres, the bee out of Lafayette, Louisiana, and Busy Bee. She's a bad girl. She has invited me to come to Lafayette for an international Creole music festival is going to be held there. And I will be there in February.
Wow.
24th. I'll be performing. Yeah. But I don't want to do a lot of perform. I'm selective about that because I'm 80 some years old. I'm not going out there trying to keep myself and be pimped and prosecuted with, that kind of a thing. And I just want to go out and do some shows and select where I go. And I tell you what, it's not going to be a lot of dancing and all that little flipping. It's going to be the real deal. I'm going to always be me because I love what I do. And I appreciate making people happy and sharing it with humanity, Yeah.
I appreciate that. And so it's neat to know that you and I talk every so often, and we've been in touch with each other now for well over a decade. I was thinking, Moody, we met somewhere back in, I don't know, 2009, 10, 8, somewhere. I was doing my motorcycle podcasts, and I
remember that one. Oh, wow. Yes.
Yeah. So we connected, and then I remember I came through Vegas with my family. We stopped at your home. My littlest one was this little, and he's now 22. So we've had some years together, and then we've spent time together down there in 2019. But let's go back now and talk a little more about your career. And that was 1970 with, break out, get out of the ghetto, bust out of the ghetto. And then you told me, though, even before that you did some work in the community where you did some concerts as at New York under the mayor there.
Yeah, when I lived in New York, when I was there in '64, I stayed in New York. That was my home base.
Okay.
And I was able to get involved with the Summer in the Street programs where celebrities and entertainers would volunteer there and render their musical or talented services towards supporting the local communities with the kids during the summer. It was called Summer in the Streets. And Mayor John Lindsay, it was one of his programs, and I was happy to be a part of that and traveling around the different boroughs of New York and performing for the community and the kids. It was great. Yes.
So you went from New York. How long were you in New York, and then where did you move from that point? What was your next? Because 1970, there's a span there between 64.
After leaving in 1964, I would travel and performed upstate New York, like Binghamton, Buffalo, all those different areas. And then I went on tour from the East Coast down and busted out of the ghetto that was in '70s, just carried me all throughout the South, performing like chitlin. It was called a chitlin circuit.
Yes, I've heard of it. Yes.
Yeah. I did open the shows and perform with Little Milton Campbell, great friend of mine. God bless his soul, rest in peace. Tyrone Davis, uh, great artist. It just go and Heath, Ruth Brown, uh, the Neville Brothers. I could go on and on and on. Uh, it's been a great ride, you know. And apparently the ride's not over. It might not be as fast as I can zoom in, but I'm still here and I'm blessed and I'm loved and I'm loving you guys, you know. So
Well, so you went from so then by the time 1970 came around, where were you kind of anchored at that point?
1970s. Now this is the interesting part in the career in the history. Um, when when disco came into the music scene, it destroyed a lot of musicians and great artists that was performing during that time. Because back then you had the 6 to 12 to 8 piece bands, I mean large bands and stuff. And when disco came along, they no longer could afford it or wanted to afford to pay the musicians with the horn sections and this kind of thing. So they'd have a DJ come in and the club owner, he would get greedy and say, "Hey, wow, Bing, I can just pay the DJ and make all this money." So that happened, and a lot of people. So I, instead of doing the disco music, I just didn't. It just wasn't me. It just wasn't me. I decided to go into radio broadcasting and became a radio broadcast personality. And my first radio broadcast was from my hometown in Hammond, Louisiana. I was the first African American to have my own radio show on a major WFPR FM country and western radio station,
Wow.
and it was a very popular show. After that was my first radio experience. Then my next one was Crowley, Louisiana, around the Lafayette area in the Arcadia Parish. I became the #1 radio personality for 6 consecutive years, voted by my radio peers and their radio listeners in that area. And it was called Moody Scott, the Super Jock Show. It was very successful, and I enjoyed that. And then from there, after radio, I went on tour and stopped off in Georgia. That's where my tour began, doing live stuff. Americus, Georgia, Macon, Georgia areas, Cordele, Georgia, all throughout those areas. Still doing the chitlin circuit thing, but it was just a nice ride. It was just a wonderful, exciting ride. So now I become a little reclusive here in Vegas. You hardly ever see me out, but I'll be getting out a little bit more.
Yeah, I want to back up there. Talk about, for those who don't even have a clue what the Chitlins circuit is, explain to my audience, because I'm of age. I understand. I even remember, luminaries.
Steve, it's just a black thing. That's what they called it. That's where African Americans back then didn't have the opportunity to play in the white nightclubs because of Jim Crow laws, type of thing. But now music is everywhere,
Didn't that break? When did that? Because you're a performer, you were out there. When do you think that really broke? When black performers and white performers started intermingling and performing at the same clubs? When did that really take off? I would have thought it would have been happening in the 70s, since there was a lot of, Hollywood at least embraced a lot of black culture, and the music industry embraced it. So when did you see that crossover where I never think about it, because when I go, Moody, to see a show, I don't care what a person is. If they're playing good music, I love it. So when did that really change, do you think, in your mind?
The perfect example was in 1969 when we did the Busted Out of the Ghetto, and I made an appearance in my hometown. And in Hammond back in the day, during that era, you did not have blacks and white mingling together, you know. But when I came home, for some particular reason, it wasn't no color thing. The place was half white and half black because they felt proud that their native son had mentioned the city of Hammond on the record, recognizing where I came from, and that's how they showed up. To me, that was an amazing thing. Everything, all the race and color, everything seemed like it was just thrown out of the air and everything. And all we had in that night was love, no problems. But after that night, it didn't mean that was going to be the same. But on that particular night, it was amazing.
Wow. So it probably took another decade, didn't it, for things to change?
Yes, it did. You know, because in my home, there were parks, theaters, the the black and white fountain. Hey man, I grew up during that era, but you know what? Here's the amazing thing. I grew up during that era, and I was able to come through that and with no hate and animosity toward any person because of their race, their color, their political or religious views. I stay away from that. I just be me and you be you, and we'll be just fine. And I haven't had any problems with my life so far. Taking that type of approach when it comes to that.
Well, Moody, I want to play another song here, and I want you to hear it. Here we go.
Oh, wow.
Shining star, lovely lady. I'm wondering how we came this far. We had good times and bad times go around all the time, but we always stick together through thick and thin.
So that's by Moody Scott and T. Hines. So talk to me about that song. That's 1983. Dude, that should have been on the charts. That should have been pumped out everywhere.
That was produced with Jim Hines, great keyboardist and humanitarian. And we did this in California. And the song was sort of dedicated to my wife, Lorena Hunter Scott. We'll be celebrating 51 years. And that's how I came up with the idea of my lovely lady, my shining star, my queen today. 51 years, she's one of those Creole sweetheart girl, love her, yeah. From Crowley, Louisiana, known as the rice bottle of the world, out of Acadia Parish, yeah.
So where did that? So did that get airplay? Where did that? That was done in California.
That did not get airplay because I produced it on my own record label, that Straight Ahead record label, and I decided to hold back on that. And that's one of the cuts that's going to be put on the Collector's album. I've got about 30 or more songs out there. A lot of stuff that I have that's like Romeo and Juliet. A lot of the stuff back then was written that and recorded that hasn't been heard, but it will be heard on the upcoming album.
Was it because you at that point you're like, boy, this style is moving away at this point, because that was more of a
that took me out of the disco range, but that had a sort of disco flavor to it.
Yes, it did. That's what I'm saying. Yep.
Right. But that's instead of me staying in there, I just decided I do not want to do no disco, and I went in the radio. That's when that happened. Just like that.
It's interesting you say that, because you did it. You could have had a hit on your hands, but it was already the movement of that style was moving out of that style, because the disco had kind of moved down into dance, still dance. But like you said, you did not want to be pigeonholed as that kind of style singer, because you're more soul and blues,
Absolutely.
brother.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to be free to yourself. I mean, it does not have to be just because somebody else is going that route. It doesn't mean that you have to follow them. You follow them. Just be you. Reach for your dreams. What makes you feel happy? What makes you feel comfortable in life?
I think I like what you're saying there. I think for a lot of musicians, they really play the fence. I was listening to an interview with Ann Wilson of Heart, and she was pointing out that there was a period of time when she and her sister kind of caved in and did stuff and performed stuff that they really were not into. But it kept them on the charts. It kept them in the business so they could keep touring and making money. And it wasn't until she went through her sobriety and started changing and went, I want to be more to my heart. We're going to write towards ourselves. And she started doing her own thing and collaborating and went back to her roots. And it can be
wonderful?
Easy.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And see, I have a friend of mine, the keyboardist, Doug Martin. Doug does all of the music for the Monterey, California Aquarium. All of the music and all of that production, Doug, he does that, and he's my son Lawrence, godfather, and he's got this Q Up Arts production. Great keyboard player. He and I are working on doing some stuff in the studio as well. Doug is out of sight, and he would play with me in California when the gas crunch came about in America.
Oh, in the 70s? Yes.
Yeah, when they had the gas shortage. We had a band called Night Flight. And so the band, Marty and Doug and I, we got together and put together the song called The Gas Crunch. This is hilarious, Steve. So I'm in put me in a big old Cadillac, Oh, how stereotype, but that was, the brothers in the Cadillac all leaning back cool, and the musicians pushing me, we out of gas kind of a thing. And one of the local TV stations reporter managed to zoom in on it and capture it. And they used it on the evening news. And that was really cool, And so throughout the years, we misplaced the master. Nobody knew where it was. So after about 10 or 12 years, the drummer came up with the master. And then I had forgotten about that. And then all of a sudden he came up with the master. And I said, well, wait a minute. I'm singing on that song. Who owns the song? And come to find out, I had clumsily made sure that I had copyrighted it. So I'm saying, wow. And that Gas Crunch was real cool. And they put a video out on it and everything. It was cool. It was cool. Great.
You know,
cool.
it's funny because I know that you moved into you did DJing, you did performing, and then you also moved into cooking, where you started cooking Creole and that kind of thing professionally. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, you see, that came about for this. That's one thing that I was blessed to do. Look, if I'm a struggling musician on the road, family, whatever, wherever I would go and cook, people just seem to just love my food, and I've been doing this, and it relaxes me as well, I like to cook. I like to cook. I like to see people sit at a table, and you could tell your food is really kicking butt when nobody's saying anything. They're just jawing down. You heard what I said? Just jawing down, having fun, and some of them be moaning. I feel sorry for them. They said, I'm a drug pusher. No, I'm a food pusher. and Creole, there's a difference between Creole and Cajun food, but there's similarities. There's not really that much.
So what is it that you specialize in then?
Well, what I do, I've come up with a cooking blended together, because most Creole cooks, they use the tomato gravy, the red tomato gravy, and the Cajun usually use the brown roux, for color and stuff. We use the Creole use a lot of okra in their cooking as well. But in the boudin, I make my own boudin sausage and stuff, just outstanding. And I just love doing it. And we're trying to hopefully get this cooking show off the ground and maybe add a little catering, call in, pick up catering to the thing, just to see how far that would go, and maybe hopefully can use it as a springboard to do some social giving and fundraising events, maybe to help local communities right here in Vegas, especially.
So Moody, that's excellent. I want you to tell me about this song, and I'm going to play it right now.
Wow. Yeah. 1975.
Let the music take your mind. Keep your head together and feel real fine. And stay motivated. Yeah. Stay motivated. Yeah. Something you feel you want to do. If it's good for you.
Okay, I love that song. I love that song.
That's the evolution from that was 1975, and it was recorded in Crowley, Louisiana.
Oh, wow.
With my friend, producer J.D. Miller, who produced Slim Hoppo, Raining in My Heart, Lazy Lester, um, Warren Storm. I mean, he had host of southern Southwest Louisiana talented recording artists right in that area, and his studio was right there in downtown Crowley, Louisiana. That's where that was, and that was 1975. That's a classic. Now you compare that to the one that we did later, The Motivated. You can see the transition from that. That was just some good old fashioned funk. Really great tune, great tune.
Well, and that's the thing. You've got blues. You cover the blues. You cover funk. I love funk. I don't know where that came in for me, but I love funk music. Thanks to YouTube, I get to listen to a lot of it that I never got to listen to when I was a kid.
I bet you do.
So,
Steve, the point is that they started out in gospel. Then all of a sudden, everybody said, "Oh, Moody Scott, the blues." They made me a blues singer. And then when they come to the shows, they get so surprised that yeah, I do the blues, but the name Moody is actually who I really am. The many moods of Moody. I mean, whatever I feel like doing, I give you a variety, even with the food and the music. I give you a good mixture. I don't just believe in putting on a show and just, how somebody you go see a show and it's just a show, it's nothing else. You're not giving, you're not sharing, you're not taking your audience on the ride, making them a part of what it's the story. Your storytelling, but bring others into the story. Then you'll make it bloom and explode with sunlight and spiritual revivals, whatever. Yeah.
well, I liked that because some of my favorite musician artists, my bands, are ones that progressed. They didn't stay within the confines of their first album. Their second album changed, their third album changed, their fourth album changed, their fifth album changed because they progressed. And it's like, and then maybe they did something that they did earlier, the style. But a lot of artists, they don't want to stay where they started when they started here. But as you're growing and your interests grow and you want to explore. I mean, you don't want to stay boxed in to a genre. I mean, I've played music. I was in various bands here locally, and my first band 3.5 years together. And when you look at the music that we started with,
yes,
3.5 years later, we had some of the same songs, but most of them we had moved forward because we had become much tighter. I'd become much better. We all became better, and we wrote more together versus individuals. And you evolved, and it was fun. And then my next band, we did the same thing. And then, so you as an artist, you work with different people, but you don't want to just stay kind of, well, I'm just this blues guy, and I made a few hits.
Right.
Or I'm a disco singer.
And then you don't let someone else define who you are. Period. That's the key. Be you. And I have friends, classmates, and a lot of people out there listening can come on. Some people just don't want to make that change. I've seen people that I grew up back home. They never left home. They stayed in the same place. And this is funny. One time I went back home for a visit and went into the cafe, and the same place that this person would sit at the table. And this was 15 to 20 years later, and went into the cafe, and guess who was there? The same lady in the same seat. imagine that? It was mind-boggling, but there it is. It is what it is. So some people, you could take the horse to the water, but you can't make the sucker drink it, so that's the way I look at it.
Okay, so I really I came to faith in Christ in 1980, and I really went from all my other normal music. I started learning about Christian music, and I got into listening to a lot of artists. And it's interesting. This will lead to something. Some of the artists, some of the female, especially vocalists, they put out some albums, and then they left the business. And then they came out later doing completely different things. Sam Phillips, who's quite well known now, she was called Leslie Phillips in the 80s, and they had her kind of doing kind of a Madonna style or a Sheena Easton. And she said, I'm done. My contract's over. And she went out, and then she started doing what she's doing, more acoustic stuff, more her own stuff. And several other female artists did the same thing because they got boxed by the industry. The industry boxed them in and said, this is what we want to promote. And being young, they did it. But then they finally said, enough is enough. I can't live with myself. And they took a big cut in pay, and they reinvented themselves and said, I need to be who I am. And now they're very sought after and very well known within.
And very happy with themselves.
Yes.
And they made that decision. See, back then, the record companies would take the artists and they would give them what we would call seed money. They would give them money in advance to buy equipment or whatever they needed when they signed with the label, along with so many years. And the young guys back there, they didn't own any rights to the music. The record company owned everything, the publishing and everything. And it wasn't no money, it was a loan. And the record labels would say, well, okay, I have to, before the artists get any money, they have to recoup all of that money that they spent out, publicists and whatever. And so the artist wasn't left with hardly any royalties. And the only way they would make a living, Steve, they would have to go out and get a following and play the clubs and sell their merch to make a profit. And that was the way it was. Now we're in an era now where you can become your independent artist to write. Don't need a book company to distribute your book or write your book anymore.
I know I'm perfect example. I wrote a book, and now I'm in process of slowly promoting it and getting myself out there. I have to market myself.
What's the name of that? It's something about code. What's the name of that book?
Oh, it's called New Revised Breaking the Deception Code.
Yes.
So
I loved Steve. I loved the design on that book. It looks good.
Yeah, my friend Derek did that for me, and
I'm at the last 2 chapters of my memoir, the story of my life story, and I can't wait I'd like to discuss that with you. I want to get it finished up. That's just so much things happening, but I really want to finish it up.
Yeah, but Moody, at 82, you're not supposed to have any things happening, and yet you're like me. You can't stop. You got to keep moving. You're motivated. See, your song "Motivated," that is your theme. I mean, as long as I've known you, you've always got yourself involved in doing something, and I think that's what keeps you young. It keeps you motivated, and no matter what.
Of course, here's the old saying: if you put a flower in the ground and never water it, it's going to do what?
It's going to die.
Yeah. So I figure this way: you're gonna go anyhow. You have no choice. It's better to go out doing the right things than doing the wrong. And I feel that we were all put here for a purpose and a reason. And I want to make sure that I put something and leave something positive that will make somebody feel emboldened to keep moving forward do the right things. You know, that's what
Well,
it's all about.
I've got another song, and I'm going to have you tell me about it. But here it is.
Here we go.
Oh my goodness.
I'm the son of a southern man. I was born to sing the blues. I'm the son of a southern man. I was born to sing the blues. There are some things in our lives that we just don't choose. I'm from Louisiana. The deep south is in my soul.
All right. So tell me about that song, Moody.
I was given that song by a songwriter named Smitty Smith here in Las Vegas. He was a prolific songwriter, and he said, "Moody, I would like for you to try this song." And I started working with it, and I got Marcelo Suarez, guitarist, tattoo, and we put this together in the recording studio. I like that the old. It had that Delta flavor to it. I'm experimenting on the fact that I'd like to do the Delta thing, and I might just add a little bit more to it, and to experiment with it. You know what I mean? I love to experiment with different things, take different songs and try them in different ways, and if it feels good, hey, I'm gonna keep it. You know. But that's being creative, just going back and forth till you get the right groove. Because if you get the right groove and the right feel, you're going to come out with something pretty nice. I learned that I don't know anything about no music. I can't arrange no music. The only thing that I do with my music when I'm writing, your voice is an instrument, and I've been blessed to have the ability to work with people and not being able to know how to play the music, but I can hum what I want, and I know what I feel, and I know what's good. You know, got a good
Yeah,
ear for it. Yeah.
I'm with you now. I play bass and strum on my guitar, but I'm a lyricist. So in the bands, I tend to write a lot of the lyrics, and then the other guys will put together the melody. But sometimes I'll hum something,
So
and
you're
then
collaborating.
we'll collaborate, and all of a sudden it'll come out really good. And I'm like, I
Absolutely.
got this. I'm singing this song, and I'm not a vocalist much. That sounds good. Or when I was collaborating with my last songwriting partner in our group, he would say, "Steve, I got this riff," and he would be doing. He was a guitar player, so he would do it. And I played my bass along with him. I go, "Well, let's add this." So then I'd add this, and then we started co-writing the songs both musically, and then I would write the lyrics on top
And
of it.
that's so much fun.
That's
That is so much fun.
Moody. I miss that because it's the collaboration of creatives working together to you have an idea, and at the end of the day, maybe it's not a top 10 or whatever song, but you've come out with a song that never existed prior to the collaboration of creative individuals.
That's why I have my nephew Alton Todd out of Houston, keyboard gospel keyboardist, right? He's working on some tracks with me, and Quentin Weathers here in Las Vegas. And by the way, he's my new music director now. We're reuniting together. So if I be doing any upcoming live stuff, Quentin is going to be a part of that. I'm excited about that. Very excited about it.
Well, it sounds like you've got some musical musical talent in the family.
Yeah, well, my nephew, he does a lot of he produces a lot of gospel songs, and he has a little school classes where he teach the younger kids how to play the piano and stuff like that, and he plays for different churches around the Houston area, you know. And
Perfect.
I have some contemporary gospel things that I wrote, and with my sister Mary Alfred, we did a song called "My Heavenly Home." So we're working on that too. You know, I have a very vast variety of stuff. I even like some country and stuff too, man. Not the tobacco chewing kind, but something that's real cool.
I wrote a song or the lyrics to a country song, a couple of them, and they're sitting on my computer. I'm like, what do I do with these? I like to collaborate with somebody, but I'm like, it's the popular style of, country that I kind of wrote for because it's not the Earl Skaggs or all these kind of things. But so I'm gonna play another song just because I'm enjoying this. So and then I'll get your feedback on
Good
this.
for you. I
Yeah.
hope our audience is feeling the same way out there.
I want a special kind of love, baby. And I want it from you. I need a special kind of love, baby. And I want it from you. Oh, yeah. I don't need no one else, girl. No one else in this world will ever do. I'm gonna take you out to dinner, baby. Show you a real good time, love. You might run into one.
So would you say that because you got the horns in there, you always think the Memphis blues when you got the horns, because not
You
everybody.
know what? That was arranged and produced by none other than blind multi keyboardist arranger and Stevie Wonder's protege, Ricky Williams.
Wow.
He's one of the co-writers of my song "Bustin' Out of the Ghetto." Ricky Williams. He lives in Florida now, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and he's still performing in that area. And he did all of the arrangements. Isn't that amazing? Those horns, he did all of that. He's a great
Just
keyboard player.
I always think about the quote Memphis blues or the New Orleans blues. They got their different styles, but I always think when you put the horns in or the Chicago blues, you got that horn section. You got to write that in there because it's not just straight ahead. The earlier one where it was just the guitarist and the harmonica.
And that's the electronic.
Yeah. I love it. I love the fact that you can take a blues song and play it a million different ways. And then your singing comes across so incredibly good. You're such a clear singer.
Well, like there's some parts like when I was in my 20s, hit the high notes and stuff. I don't reach the high notes. I know my limitations, and that's the way I do it. It works. It works. So if it ain't broke, don't be trying to fix it. Leave it the hell alone. That's the way I see it.
Well, there's plenty of guitarists that used to be called the top flight guitarists, the fastest guitarists in the West. And as they get older, they put less in there, less flash, but more emotion. And all of a sudden you hear the aged guitarist who's still phenomenal, but now he doesn't have to put 10 notes in there. He puts 3,
Absolutely.
and it speaks louder than the 10 notes.
And on top of that, same thing applies in my case.
Yep.
I go out on the stage now, and the audience, I'm relaxed. I'm not erratic, and the people, they can feel that I'm relaxed, suave, and just make everything seem so natural. Everything is natural, no fakeness, upfront, personal, and real. And and people can sense. See, artificial intelligence, I'm not against it if it's used in the right way, but I'm not going to go out there and brighten up everything and AI, and hey, it's exciting, but when it comes to being real, and you got to come before the public and sing or perform, you better have your stuff together, because you can't fool everybody.
It's
just you can't fool everybody. And I'm not against AI, but I'm going to use it, but I'm going to be in control.
That's right.
For an example, this you didn't know. You can go Google Moody Scott right now, and you might have it come up that says that I died in 2010. It's got up there actually that I'm dead.
Yeah.
And that's been going on for like, I didn't make no attempt to take it down, because this is an old saying Mommy used to say back in the day. Well, if they keep saying you're dead, you're gonna live a long time, boy. Oh, Mama, I love you. Rest in peace. Yes, indeed.
It's so when I go to see a live band, I want to see a live band. If I listen to something on the radio or something on the internet, I listen to it that way. But AI, there's a lot of people using AI to create songs, and they're up and they're used, but you're never going to see those people because they're not real. It's just a machine.
Right.
It's just a machine. And now the same thing. So there are a lot of let's say, for instance, you talked about how the disco era really made it hard on live musicians. So I remember this was when I was a teenager, and I was listening to a radio show late at night, and my parents came in, and I think it was Led Zeppelin or something. And I sat down, and we turned off the music, and I go, let me explain my music for you, Mom and Dad. You grew up in an era when you would go out and see Glenn Miller, 15, 25-piece orchestras out on the road, performing, big ballrooms, dancing. Well, from the 40s to the 50s, things started moving into shrinking. And I say, by the time you get into the 60s and then the 70s, you're down to 3, 4, 5-piece bands, because the cost to be able to take out a band on the road is just unbelievable. And I say, so now when you listen to this music, instead of having 5 horn players, you got one keyboardist playing that sound, that part. But instead of having this,
right, it's more compact.
More compact. But I go, and then they started, and it was so funny. My parents go, well, we may not really appreciate all that you listen to, but we understand it, because they came from a different era. And it's the same thing. It's when you go out and perform now, you could go out there with a keyboard or a guitar and sing, and people, where's the band? No, you don't have to. You can even have it recorded, and you're singing along with it, karaoke style, but you're live. And people have understood that for decades now, because they understand that you can't always have a backup band because it's expensive. So
not only that, if you are an artist that's performing, you want to make sure if you're going to do something in that matter, is that the tracks that are accompanying you are professionally and well done, and that you are an entertainer and know how to entertain your audience along with that. Yeah, you can do it. You can do it. You know, in
Yep.
situations like that. I, however, with me, I would prefer, you know, doing it like I have more of a live thing report. But if the budget calls for it and can afford it, why not? But most of the places they don't want to they want you to perform, but they don't want to pay you.
That's the
And
reality.
to me, that's insane
Yeah.
because musicians, they have to pay bills. And years ago, musicians could take care of their bills and had a decent life, but not today. You know, unless you lock down into a clique, or some nice corporate gigs are coming in, you know, where the corporation, they can afford it and they use it as a tax write-off, so that it's not coming direct out of their pocket anyhow. So, but all these little saloons and the local bars and stuff, it's very hard for a musician to survive on that.
It is. And I won't keep you much longer here, Moody, but I wanted to, by the way, if your wife's in the nearby, I just want to say hello, send our love to her. And
You know, they went out. We're getting ready for the Super Bowl, so they went to went to get some food. So we're gonna throw down and just do some barbecue here at the house. And I told her chicken wings, so we found uh, a sale on them because those packs of those wings. And we found those for 10. And I told her, I said, baby, look, just put them in the freezer, just stock up.
well, I'm gonna play another song real quick here. Have some fun.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Yeah, I will get to it in a minute. Hey, baby.
Hi.
She's a hoochie coochie queen from down on the bayou.
When it's
She
big,
goes to me like a revolving door.
All right.
She made a deal with the devil and sold her soul. She'll do anything.
All right.
Come here, Sugar. Hey,
You have your family there.
Steve, look who I got here. Say hello.
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 What's your name? You Jaja, huh? Look at Sid. Say hello. Wave at him. Say hi, Steve. Hi, Steve.
I see.
All right. Thank you, babe. Lorena, Steve wanna holler at you. She just came in, Steve. Hold on a minute.
Okay, we're making this a family
Can you
show.
see her?
Yes. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi, good to see you again.
You as well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you.
That's good.
Blessing.
Nice talking.
You
Yeah.
guys do shopping. All right.
I like it. Yeah, it's a live show. I love it. So,
Absolutely. I really appreciate you taking the time to host the show and be able to experience what's happening right about now and around us and making sure that we enjoying our days on this planet and just keep on doing it. And I want to thank you for allowing me the opportunity to be the guest on your show, Steve. I appreciate it.
well, I thank you, Moody, for coming on. You're a good friend, and I'm excited for you. And we're going to stay in touch. And folks, as I like to say, remember, be the lion and not the prey. And have a great
Absolutely.
day. And
Amen. Amen. Have a
All
good
right.
one, my friend.
bye-bye.
Aye.